Welcome, guys, to another Founder Wisdom Pod today with Braxton Wood. He's the founder at Career on Command. So, we're going to obviously talk about careers today. We're going to talk about Braxton content, which is quite interesting. He has a cool background as well, which we're going to get into. This pod is presented to you by podpar.com. That's my podcasting company. If you want to start your pod, if you want to scale it and monetize it the unconventional way, you can go to podpar.com. Braxton, glad to have you on. Tell me a bit more about yourself and Career on Command.
Yeah, I think in general, I am a big nerd, and I've kind of built my career off being a nerd, but off some things that people aren't usually nerdy about. And so I really love getting into the weeds of how to make yourself the best version of yourself, and how to. So I tend to focus on the livelihood. How do you make yourself the best version of yourself, and as it pertains to your livelihood? So what I'm really all about is helping people find whatever their dream is, but helping them do it on their own terms.
Right. My definition of nerd is like digging deep in the details of some stuff and informing yourself a lot, gathering literature on stuff. And also, I think there's an experimental part, right? Like now that you have all the info to go out there and actually nerd out big time and see how the external world react to it. So where did you get that nerdiness? Like, was it in your gene or did you learn to be a nerd?
I think it was probably a learned thing a little bit. I'm a product of homeschooling, so I haven't been in school since I was 11 years old. I didn't graduate high school. I didn't go to college. Um, and I learned to be very self-directed in a way in my learning. So that and this is the thing that I talk about a lot in my own content is like people use the term education and schooling interchangeably, but they're not the same thing. And so I had a very good education, but I didn't go to school. And so having that kind of independent path in my own education is what kind of brought out this nerdiness into me and how I really like to get into the weeds with things.
I'm gonna homeschool my children because yeah, I didn't have the best of experiences myself, and yeah, I'm a strong believer into self-guiding, and especially if I can have my kids start a venture as soon as possible of their own, right? Like if they can dive into entrepreneurship, I think that will do them a huge favor. At least that's my hypothesis. Now, I still want to socialize them with friends, mostly in sports, I guess. But yeah, the school system, I just remember looking at the clock and having this huge headache of like, when is this going to end? And I was always into trouble. My teachers, they wanted me out of the class. The directors wanted me out of the school. So that was a big struggle for me that left a mark, a rebellious mark on me. So yeah, glad to see that you've been homeschooled. It's quite inspiration, keeps on adding on the nodes to homeschool my own children's. Now, tell me about like your career. You started, well, your first entrepreneurial venture was a photographer in 2010. How
Right.
did that evolve into what you've been doing nowadays at Career on Command?
Yeah, so it's not a very linear story, honestly, but I photography became my first hobby, my first real passion about something, and I loved it in every sense of the word. My wife would tell you I was obsessed with it. Um, and but as in having that side hustle, I started realizing that I enjoyed the activity of marketing it more than I did actually taking pictures and working with people. And that's when I kind of had a light bulb moment of, oh, I enjoy marketing. And so that's when I realized, and I was probably 25 years old at the time. That was when I finally figured out what it was I wanted to do for a living. So pursuing marketing, again, I didn't go to college. I'm completely self learned in that capacity, in that profession. And the way I did it was, this was years ago before YouTube was really huge in what it was. This was before, like, there's all these other options. This was before, I think, anyway. So I went to every just video I could get my hands on. I bought every book and read every book I could on the topic. And I learned that stuff. And then I went and created a new side hustle where I put it into practice. And those things were things that I kept putting on my resume until the point where it got me into a 600-person tech company doing marketing. And then through a chain of events and working for a few other companies after that tech company, I realized that that journey I went through from being a young teenager and not having school to lean on, but still having this education that I kind of developed for myself. I realized there's a method and a structure to this that I kind of uncovered. And so that was the inspiration for starting my career coaching program. Is there's a better way. It just requires you to bet on yourself more and trust yourself instead of waiting for the permission of an employer to let you come work for them. To me, that's completely backwards.
And then your TikToks are quite entertaining. Is that how you get most of your clients?
In a way, it is. Yeah, I get my business and the people that I work with come to me a number of different ways, but TikTok is definitely from a business perspective, it's definitely a brand builder. I've been featured on a number of blogs, and I've acquired very significant partnerships through that, and so that's helped. So yeah, it's been a good chunk of what I do now.
What do you do precisely for people? Because there's a bunch of career coaches out there. Most of them are incredibly boring. I like the TikTok of yours. It seems new and it's a new concept. It's more energetic. It's different. It's actual. While most career coaches look like they're in their 90s or something. So, um, how do you do things different and what do you offer?
Yeah. I think it kind of boils back to what I discovered as someone that used to be an employee myself, and that journey I took from a teenager to a young adult, right? So what I do differently is like and I don't want to put all career coaches in a box, but what a lot of them will do is like they're going to focus on education more, but what they really mean is schooling. That's one thing they're going to bring up and talk about a lot, right? Beyond that, um, my method and my approach is all about removing barriers. That's how I teach people to write resumes. That's how I teach people to interview. What are the potential barriers that are in between you and what you want, the career you want? And those barriers can take a lot of forms. It can be your own limiting beliefs that are barriers. It can be the way in you're presenting yourself. It can be in the way that you're giving an impression to the employer that gives them the completely wrong idea. Those are all barriers. And so what I help people understand in their job hunt, in their career progression, is what are the barriers that you have in front of you, whether you're aware of them or not. I help people eliminate all those barriers. And then when that's done, all that's left is the good stuff. And then you can optimize your career path. You can optimize your job hunt. You can optimize your resume.
Do you charge hourly or is it programs? How does it work?
Good question. I have a few different offerings. And so I have a what I call my perfect career blueprint program. It's an 8-call coaching program. Um, and that includes a handful of courses that people get alongside it. There's a bunch of other resources. So there's that. And that's just kind of like a package that I offer. For another subset of clients that I work with, I also just do like what is basically a retainer hourly coaching. And when people come to me for something like that, what they seem to be looking for, most of my clients are looking for is just to have a sounding board to help them navigate the complexities of the corporate life, navigate the complexities of navigating a career change, things like that. And so that type of relationship and that coaching that I do for those type of clients tends to be a little bit more fluid and a little bit more like undefined, just because it's all about them coming to me, expressing their problems, and then I'm giving them a neutral perspective on it that will help them navigate it.
You also do more senior roles like CEOs. That would be exciting to me, like helping CEOs get their next $1 million year CEO gig and take 15% of it.
Yeah, that's something I played with. I work with those people. It's so funny. When I first started this business, I thought the kind of people that I could really help were like college students, and they weren't the only people I was targeting. But I thought that there was a huge need for there with college students or recent grads. And I live in a college town, so that was part of the reason. So I started this business, and I was all gung ho, like I'm going to be just life changing for all these students, and completely fell flat. And what I realized is that um, people that age, late teens, early 20s, haven't fallen on their face enough to realize that they need the help or really realize what they even want out of their career. And so when I work with those, like director level professionals or higher, they've had experience, they've had challenges, and some of those folks feel like they're either on a plateau in their career or they feel stuck in some way. And so when they need help with that sounding board, it's really a big use to them, because I think we all have our blinders on with our careers in some way. And so that discussion that we have in that coaching relationship helps them kind of unearth the limiting beliefs that they have, and they discover new opportunities through it.
Very cool. Um, I am on a crusade for pushing people to start businesses and sort of opposed to, the corporate world and the 9 to 5. I'm not sure the beneficial effects of huge corporations on society. They certainly do employ people, but the net effect, of making people comfortable and not innovating and just being paid. Like, is it just me? Is it just my crusade? Or do you also feel that corporations are sort of taking more than they give to the society?
There is something to that, and it's funny because I feel in this business that I have, I feel almost conflicted in a way because I'm a huge proponent of entrepreneurship, right? So it's almost this dichotomy that I live on a daily basis where I'm coaching people to find a better job instead of start a better business or something like that. And for those very reasons. Like part of the inspiration, in addition to me having my own professional journey, the other side of the inspiration in starting this business was because I was severely like taken for granted and abused by all my previous employers. And I just frankly got tired of it. And so the very last job I ever had, I quit without a plan. And I'm just like, I'm going to start freelancing. I don't need an employer to pay me to do this. I know I can do this myself without them. And for a while I did. Um, but it's yes, it's because of that very reason. Like employers tend to really take advantage of their people. Like they prey on people that are vulnerable in one way or another. I've seen it even in major tech companies that I've worked at and that I've had other clients work at. It tends to happen and it's unfortunate.
Your videos are so addictive. I'm like looking at them. I can't stop looking. Um, and I understand the conflict. We all have these conflicting forces in our careers, I guess. Mine often is like, oh, am I actually selling them something or selling them a dream, or can I
Mhm.
actually deliver on that? Fortunately, I back my shit up with serious execution, but we often have these conflicting forces, or whether it's capitalism and doing good. Another of these, what do you feel about TikTok? I mean, TikTok seems to be great for people that use it to learn stuff,
Mhm.
but it's also zombifying. What's your take on that?
I think if we're talking about social media kind of in general, like I view so much like this perspective of mine comes, I think, from me working at a tech company. One of the things that I've learned in my career is that everything is just a tool and it can be used for bad or good, right? And so I when I first hopped on TikTok, I was quite hesitant actually because I was one of those folks like there's a lot of polarizing things surrounding TikTok, specifically. I hopped on TikTok and bit the bullet and did it because I have a friend that is she has over 4 million followers on TikTok. And I'm like, okay, this is a marketing tool. There's something to this. So I better at least give it a shot. And while I don't have this near the following that she does, I experience similar things. It's like it's a tool, it can be used for positivity. And I see a lot of positivity specifically on that platform. And what I have to say, uh, I don't want to sound like I'm, waving the flag just for TikTok, but I think freedom of speech happens on that platform more than any other as well. You know what I mean? And that is an environment that I think personally I would have been crazy to ignore for that reason.
And yeah, I'd love that. I think I agree with that. I mean, Elon's certainly trying with X, but
Okay.
yeah, with people saying that TikTok is this weapon by the Chinese government. Are they trying to use freedom of speech against us, or is this pure conspiracy? Because yeah, TikTok is quite important. It's very cool as well, and I'm certainly so fed up with Meta. They always ban my ads for whatever reason
Exactly.
because they've been into legal trouble. They're not imposing that on their customers. Kind of annoying. So quite bullish on TikTok, I would say. How do you actually build your content on there? How do you get your ideas, and what's the execution like?
I am the worst example of this, honestly. I have no shortage of ideas, and very often they come in the moment. And so, if you see, for the longest time I was posting 3 times a day. Very rarely were any of my 700 some odd videos ever planned. It was something like, oh, I know I have a morning post, an afternoon post, and a late evening post, or something like that. So I'd look up at the clock and be like, oh, it's 11:30, better do my kind of early afternoon post. And I would just think of something and do it and post it. And that's what I did for the longest time. I still have that habit a little bit, but I just think there's in this niche of career development and challenging employers and things like that, the job market, there's no shortage of material. And so what I've found myself doing, and it's kind of evolved over the last couple of years, what I found myself doing is really commenting on stories that I find and the struggles that people are experiencing within those stories. And I think why I've developed the following and the attention that I have is because it's such a universal thing for everyone. It's such a universal problem. So people relate to it. And that in and of itself is a huge signal to me that something about the market needs to change. And so I found some alignment there because what I originally set out to do in this business was to help people understand how empowered they can really be and how much they can really do when they feel like they're stuck. Because very often when people feel like they're stuck, it's just their own limiting beliefs that are preventing them. And so there was this alignment there where people are feeling this frustration with their employers. They're also feeling frustration with their own, self view. And me sharing this content and sharing my perspective on things with the history of my journey, also with what I'm observing in the market and how employers are treating their people, it all kind of like coalesced into this really beautiful thing in this beautiful community that has kind of surrounded around this topic.
You're currently evangelizing me on the TikTok thing. I might actually get that. I really like your videos. Are there actually business people on TikTok? Is there money on TikTok, or is it just like zombies scrolling?
There is, and that's the thing that I was most shocked by. It's still new, it's still young, and it's still a younger audience on TikTok. But there, even if I wasn't selling like an offer or a coaching program, even if I didn't have something for my business to sell, I know of people that are making 5 figures a month just off the views they're getting from their content on TikTok. So there's money to be made even that way. And I'm very fortunate that TikTok invited me to be I'm a TikTok certified creator on the platform. And so I have a lot of blessings and benefits from kind of being closer to the TikTok team for that reason. But that's something that's available to anyone if they have a unique story, a unique position, a unique perspective to share on TikTok, you will get recognized.
So, okay, let's take your views, for example. So how much did you had? 120 million or something like
I
that?
have roughly at this time I have close to 180 million views on TikTok.
Yeah, these are big numbers. So let's say 20K you got out of that, or
What was the question?
yeah, $20,000. Is that what they pay you for that amount of view?
There's a lot of criteria that's involved with that. So I can get in the nitty gritty if you like to about their program.
Yeah, yeah, like the
Yeah.
80/20.
Yeah. How there's some criteria you have to match. A video has to be at least a minute long. It has to have the views that count towards you getting paid for it. Um, the video has to have been viewed for at least 5 seconds. And then it has to be original content. Those are the main 3 requirements. So a lot of the views I have out of that 180 million are not eligible, for example, because they're not a minute long. So it can depend. But yeah, I've probably made, if you're curious, I think I've probably made about $15,000 just off my views on TikTok.
And I mean, the rest is just gravy, right? Like all the clients you got from there. I mean, it's a gold mine. It's yeah, it's beautiful. I
Yeah.
post my shirts. I use an app called Opus.pro that I post them. Very novice. My wife has got like millions of views too, so I need to take notes here and probably get going on the TikTok platform. What's your plan for this year? What goals do you have in mind?
Yeah, so my plan is I've realized what I'm doing here and TikTok, just my activity on TikTok deserves a lot of credit for this realization that I've had. I've realized that what I really have here is not so much a career coaching business as it is a media business. And so if I could, Zig Ziglar once said you can, I forget, and I'm going to butcher it, but Zig Ziglar once said you can have whatever you want if you help enough people get whatever they want, right? And so I would be perfectly fine if I could make a modest living just off of the attention that I get with what I share. if I could do that, I would not charge people to meet with me and coach them or whatever. I would do it all. And so that's the ultimate goal I'm working towards. Everything I do is with that in mind. And then, the other side of it is I have partnerships that I drum up. I was a contributing partner to Monster Jobs, where I contributed to their blog and things like that. So, one of the oldest internet companies on the planet, I was partnered with them, and I was very blessed for that. So those are also other top opportunities. And if we talk about income streams, those are other things that I have in addition to just having the revenue of attention being the thing to bless what I'm doing and keep it moving forward.
And that's a modern business, right? I also view myself as a media business. It's cool because you can get your favorite products for free. You can promote them. You don't need to build this complicated startup or these supplements that I have for my podcast. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, it all comes to me. I promote them. I use the product. I enjoy it. I promote it back, and you're helping people at the same time. You're learning. You're growing your network. You can branch off some startups and create a portfolio out of that if you're into this, right? So yeah, I'm very much into that model too. It's genius. Love what you're doing, Braxton. Where can people find out more about you?
So I kind of joke that I'm a professional maniac. And so for that reason, I just have one link that people can go to where they can see all my socials, they can see my website, everything like that. So the link is braxtonwood.vip, and everything about me is there.